Take my word for it. I live there. Come to Florida. Get pre-approved right now with my guy Michael Kotze. Call him at 561-441-2730. He's got Choice Mortgage and a great real estate team. Get pre-approved right now. Michael Kotze, 561-441-2730. Buy in Florida right now. Don't wait. Save money on state taxes. Make your move today with Choice Mortgage. Trust me, Florida is waiting. This guy's so good, he did my commercials in Florida too. Mike Kotze, 561-441-2730. A ride.
The Lincoln Wishlist sales event is happening now. Here's what's on everyone's wish list. Enjoying holiday jingles with brilliant 3D audio that surrounds you? Check. Watching snow flurries through the panoramic Vista roof? Check. Packing up presents with the spacious Lincoln Splitgate? Check. Everything you want. All standard on the 2025 Lincoln Navigator SUV. Visit your local Lincoln retailer or learn more at Lincoln.com for exceptional offers on 2025 Lincoln vehicles today.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Yes, folks, this is the More Money Show, and that is the theme song of More Money, which is, of course, the Beatles singing Money. Incidentally, can you believe it that Paul McCartney is still doing live concerts? Amazing. He has the Fountain of Youth. Love that song. Love being on with you. Thank you so much for joining. We are on every Saturday afternoon from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. On WABC, but other stations throughout the country. So thank you so much for joining. Hope you're having a very happy and holy holiday season. God, it's hard to believe it's only 2 weeks to Christmas. I haven't even really hardly gotten started doing my shopping, so I've got a lot of catching up to do. I'm going to get right down to it, folks. I am a little bit angry at the American people for what they're telling pollsters, which is that they are not happy with the direction of the economy, that they don't think Trump's policies are working, I saw a Fox News poll, 57% of Americans say that Trump is doing the wrong thing on the economy. Only 37% say right thing. I don't get it. I'm very rarely admit when I am completely flummoxed, but I am right now, because I am going to recite for you throughout this show the amazing statistics about what is going on in this economy. And it is overwhelmingly strong performance. And it starts with what's happening with gas prices. Gas prices are down in most states below $2.80 a gallon now. There are some states with less than $2 a gallon gasoline now. The price of crude oil has come down from $80 to $58, which is a huge, huge reduction. That's $80 to $58 a barrel. That means you pay less at the pump. This is the gauge we've always used for whether things are becoming more affordable, as gas prices. And yet they're falling, and yet Americans are in a bad mood. Then you've got what's going on with economic growth. Now, as you know, the economy has been growing under Biden and under Obama by about 2%, to put it charitably. In the last 9 months, the U.S. economy has been growing at 3.5% to 4%, almost twice as fast. That's a really good sign. And that increase in output is being driven by two things: consumer spending and by investment spending by businesses. So businesses are investing in the future. They're investing in machinery, equipment, new plants, research and development. All of these things are, as you know, the seed corn for a growing economy. That's really good news. How about the budget deficit? The budget deficit is down almost 20% from last year. Now, do we have a huge, huge debt? Yes. Do we have a huge deficit? Yes. But guess what? It's shrinking. It's coming down. It's not going up, reversing 4 horrible years where we added about almost $8 trillion in debt under Joe Biden. What about looking at things like the job market? Now, I know some people are having there have been layoffs. I get that. People are a little nervous about AI, and will that take my job away from me? But right now in the United States, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there are 7.2 million job openings. In other words, if you got a skill that an employer wants, you probably can get a job pretty quickly, and a well-paying job at that. Now, if you have a sociology degree or a psychology degree or an ethnic studies degree from one of the Ivy League schools, you probably aren't going to be great demand because nobody needs that, but we need our employers, our businesses need people who know how to do things, workers who know how to fix things and make things and innovate. So that's a great number, 7.2 million job openings. That means it's a good labor market for people who are looking for jobs. Look, I know in some professions it's tough, and I know some people have been laid off, and that always hurt. There's nothing more demoralizing than being laid off from a job. But what I'm saying is there are a lot of jobs out there, and frankly, right now there's more jobs out there than there are people looking for jobs or actively looking for jobs. So that's a good thing when you actually have job openings, not more job openings than job closures. But let me go on because I'm just getting started here. We are seeing a manufacturing resurrection in this country. No question about it. Our manufacturing production is up, which is a very good sign. How about if we look at what's happened at the border? As you all know, I'm very pro-immigration. I think immigrants are incredibly vital to our economy. And I know a lot of people who listen to this show are immigrants. Hopefully you're here legally, not illegally. And now look, 90% of the immigrants who are in this country are here legally. They came in lawfully, as many of you did. But we are seeing a 90% reduction. I think the latest number from my friend Tom Homan, who runs the Border Security Department, 92.5% reduction in the number of illegal crossings into this country. It's a great thing. I mean, immigrants, please come in. We want you. We support you. We want you if you want to come and share our freedoms and share our economic opportunity, because this is the land of the opportunity, but you got to come in the right way. And then there are other measures that I find really positive right now. If you look at what is happening in terms of the tax cut will provide the average family next year with about almost a $2,000 reduction in their federal taxes, which means you have more after-tax income, and that means you'll have more money to save or spend. And so that's a very positive thing. People come up to me all the time. Steve Moore, what happened to the big, beautiful bill? I haven't seen my tax cut yet. That's because the tax cut for most people starts next year. So you're going to see less money withheld from your paycheck. You're going to see no tax on tips. You're going to see no tax on overtime. All of these policies that Trump has supported and has passed into law, and that will be a positive thing next year as well. Now, what about wages? What about real wages? Those real wages for the average American have increased faster than inflation. Median income this year is already up $1,200. That's through the end of October, and it's probably going to be up in the last 2 months of the year as well. So the trends are very positive. They really are. I look at these numbers. How about the fact that we have an all-time high on the NASDAQ, on the S&P 500, and the Dow? The Dow is headed to 50,000, folks. When I first came to Washington 40 some years ago, it was at 1,000. Now it's at 50,000. So the trends are all positive. I am here to tell you what Ronald Reagan used to say when he was in office in his first term: stay the course. Stay the course. This is a president who has righted the ship. I think we're going to see a monster year for the stock market, for wages, for workers, for American output next year. We will continue to be the envy of the world economy. And it's simple why this is happening, because Trump is putting America first. So we have a great show for you. We'll be talking about this throughout the next 2 hours of all the areas where we have seen improvement. I know people are angry about the price of steak. I know people don't like what's going on with healthcare. I don't like it either. But if you look at the fundamental statistics of how we judge an economy, things are looking way up, and I think really strong for next year. We've got a great show in store for you. My next guest up will be a good friend of mine, Janine Yass, who is going to tell you about what's going on in school choice. So stick with us, folks. We will be right back.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Take my word for it. I live there. Come to Florida. Get pre-approved right now with my guy Michael Kotze. Call him at 561-441-2730. He's got Choice Mortgage and a great real estate team. Get pre-approved right now. Michael Kotze, 561-441-2730. Buy in Florida right now. Don't wait. Save money on state taxes. Make your move today with Choice Mortgage. Trust me, Florida is waiting. This guy's so good, he did my commercials in Florida too. Mike Kotze, 561-441-2730. All right.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We are back, folks. This is the More Money Show. Thank you so much for joining. All over the country, we have affiliates all the way from Los Angeles and San Francisco through Chicago and St. Louis and Kansas City, all the way down to Georgia and all the way up to Maine. So thank you so much for joining and making this show a success. I want to get right down to it. One of my dear friends and someone who I think is a hero in the education movement is Janine Yass. Janine and her husband, Jeff, are incredible philanthropists. And one of the things they've put so much of their money into is promoting the idea that every single parent in America, regardless of what their zip code is, regardless of what the color of their skin, should be able to send their child to the best possible school that they can. We've got to get rid of an education monopoly that is not working. Janine, you and Jeff have done so much for that. So first of all, thank you for what you guys do.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
So I was so inspired, as I always have been, when I go to what is called the Yass Prize event. And this is, for those who are not familiar with this is an event where you celebrate the entrepreneurs and the people who are doing so much to bring creativity and knowledge and wisdom to our children who want an alternative to the public schools. And tell people about how you started the Yass Prize, how it works. And I've never seen so many amazing people in my life that were on the stage with you a week ago when we were in Washington, D.C. at the Reagan Building. It's such a cool thing that you guys have done.
Thank you. Yes, they are an inspiring bunch of people. And everyone is still floating high from that event. We started this prize, the Yass Prize in particular. We restructured our philanthropy during COVID. When schools were shut down, we wanted to do something. We saw, the need for children to get back into schools. And we did see a lot of educators and entrepreneurs around the country were doing that. They were providing alternatives to the closed schools. And we felt really compelled to support them.
And by the way, this was when the public schools, many of them around the country, were shutting down, right? So parents had to find an alternative.
Right. Initially, the first year prize that we did was went to a science museum that was really focused on after-school care, but became a school for the parents that in Missouri that were first responders and nurses and people that had to go to work. They opened up their doors at 8 a.m. instead of 3 o'clock in the afternoon and actually became the school. People like that. And we were shocked. We put a call out that we were going to give these grants, and we had close to 2,000 applications from around the country. Wow. We had no idea that there were so many amazing innovators and entrepreneurs out there that really wanted to do this for kids, because what we saw, in a lot of the public schools, especially on the East Coast, were just closed doors, people getting, mimeographed paper packages out to the families and leaving it up to them. So since that time, we thought it was going to be a one-year prize, but what happened is we realized that once the schools did reopen, a lot of the families wanted to stay in these different alternative schools, and we gave out a lot of grants to organizations. One in Arizona, the Black Mothers Forum, that didn't want to send their kids back to the public schools. So we gave them a small grant at the time that really inspired that whole community to enact an educational savings account for the state of Arizona, so that money could stay in the hands of these entrepreneurs. So we're in the business of supplying the schools for parents that want these options.
So Janine Yass is being very modest here because she and Jeff, I think this year, awarded $2 million to the grand prize winner got a $1 million prize. And I think, Janine, if my memory serves me correctly, there were 4 runners-up that also received $250,000, which means so much to them. And folks, these are teachers and educators who are really, really, truly devoting their life to our kids. They're not doing it for a paycheck. They're doing it because they care about, making sure that we are producing functional, adults who are going to be successful in their life. And it really, to see and by the way, you want to talk about people from all races and all ethnicities. That room was filled with blacks and Hispanics and Asians and people from all the cities. It really was an amazing, uplifting evening. Tell me about the people who won first prize this year.
Grabbing the holidays by the boughs with Duluth. Step 1, hire a mall Santa to handle snow removal.
Ho, ho, ho! My sciatica!
Step 2, hit Duluth Trading and load up on fire hose pants, buck naked underwear, pocket pack bibs, free swinging flannel, and all kinds of ingenious gear you won't find anywhere else. Grab the holidays by the boughs and shop Duluth Trading, online and in store.
So this year, the grand prize went to Chesterton Schools Network. It's a system of really a micro school network that was started by a fantastic woman who started the school really because her son was not fitting in the public school at the time. Mm-hmm. He was being bullied, and she looked around. She connected with this philosophy a lot of educators know about, the Chesterton model. They do classical education. They have a religious Catholic component. It's screen-free. They're very hands-on. They structure their schools. They're actually structured differently in each area that they expand in according to the needs of the families. Some could be brick and mortar. Some could be strictly micro schools. They have. They're currently serving about 2,500 students. And with our prize, they'll be able to increase that by another 1,000 students in 1 year. But get this, their goal, Steve, is to have over 1,000 schools from 70. Oh my God! Right now.
So, and these would be schools, by the way, that would compete with the public schools, right?
Oh yes. It's mostly kids are coming out from schools that aren't serving them, whether they're public or other private schools. Some kids have dropped out of school, and then they re-enroll in schools like this if they find better options. But we really were so impressed by her and her enthusiasm and her dedication, her staff. We had a press conference the day after the award, and she couldn't attend. She attended initially for like 20 minutes, right. But she had to get on the flight to go to Argentina, where they're demanding her to open schools there. Wow. So, she was a pretty sure bet for us.
Well, it's so incredible. And, Janine, you all and Jeff Yass have also done so much to promote the whole school choice movement, which is really about giving parents choices, especially in inner cities. And to me, this is the number one cause of our country right now. When you have as many as 1/3 of kids in these schools that can't even do reading and math at grade level proficiency, Houston, we've got a problem.
One of our other finalists this year, a woman by the name of Mimosa that runs this organization called Schoolhouse, said, if we want to stop seeing what we see on the nightly news every night, we really have to start with schools. Mm-hmm. And she's also changing lives with her school program. Again, these are all different approaches to learning, but each one they all have waiting lists of kids trying to get in. So it's really our honor to be able to help out these families around the country.
Well, Janine, thank you so much for what you do. I'd love to have you on again soon, because what you guys have done is really helping so many tens and tens of thousands of kids who have fallen through the cracks in the public schools. By the way, I was one of those people. I didn't do so well in public schools.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. Jay Kelly, the new film from Academy Award nominee Noah Baumbach. George Clooney stars as an actor confronting his past and present on a journey of self-discovery, alongside Adam Sandler as his devoted manager. Critics are calling it a declaration of love to the chaotic art of filmmaking, with the Wall Street Journal praising it as a transcendent comedy drama. Jay Kelly is now playing only on Netflix.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We're back, folks. This is the More Money Show. By the way, we ran out of time with my good friend Janine Yass, and I want to thank her for coming on and thank her and Jeff Yass for what they do for the kids of America. Boy, if we had 100 or 1,000 other philanthropists like Janine and Jeff, we could fix the school problem in this country, which I think as an economist is probably our one of our greatest disappointments is what our public schools are doing to our kids. Sometimes the public schools, I know a lot of you send your kids to public schools, but you got to also have competition, right? Competition was what leads to better performance, and the public schools should have to compete for kids. And that's why I love that Jeff and Janine are providing all sorts of, helping fund all sorts of alternative schools. The real champions and the real heroes are the ones who, on a shoestring budget, really run these schools and turn out really highly functional, brilliant and exceptional kids. Okay, so I want to change subjects now and bring on Jay Jackson, who's really an amazing guy. He's backed by popular demand because he has been such an amazing, the information he gives us about how you can live a longer life, how you can manage your assets to make sure that you don't run out of money before you die, but also make sure that you can live a very happy life when you reach retirement age. And so thank you so much for coming on again.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. Always a pleasure to be here.
So first of all, for those who have not heard your story, tell us about how you started Abacus and the special kind of niche you have in the financial market as a financial manager for our listeners, because we have an older listenership, and I'm sure they'd be very interested in what you're doing.
Great. Yes, thank you. We work very closely with seniors and their financial advisors all across the country in a simple equation. You know, life insurance serves a purpose, and at some point in someone's life, they decide they no longer need that policy for what they currently took it out for, and generally they just lapse it for no money. What we do is help them solve that equation to say, actually, it has a net present value, it's personal property, and they have the right to sell it. And that market value is determined by typically their longevity and lifespan. And so we then expanded from helping people recognize the actual market value of the life insurance policy into other financial services. We're now one of the largest asset managers, and we manage uncorrelated assets. We own those policies, we manage them, and we have funds that are available to investors that they can also invest in.
It's an amazing product. So you're saying basically you can advise them what to do with their life insurance policies based on the factors in their life and their height, their weight, their this, their that.
All those things. It's like turning it into a living benefit, right? Like, right. Most of the time you wait for a mortality to occur, but they forget that it has an actual value today, and they can capitalize on the value of that policy today rather than waiting till they pass away.
So one of the reasons I wanted to put you on, Jay, this weekend is because today is a very important day in American history. That is because one of my favorite people ever is, of course, Dick Van Dyke, who turns 100 years old today. And for those of us of a certain age, when I was a kid, we would get out our Swanson TV dinners. We put the trays out and we'd be watching the Dick Van Dyke Show on TV. He was, maybe other than the only person I think could compete as a greater comedic actor might have been Jackie Gleason, but Dick Van Dyke is certainly one of the top 3 or 4 of all time. He is 100 years old. And first of all, I mean, just an amazing his career, but, you were the first person who alerted me to this. And tell us, look, it's not that rare these days for someone to live to 100 years old, but there's an asterisk here. And tell our listeners what you discovered.
Yeah, and I would say it is still very rare people live to 100. But in this specific example, what's super unique is that we had yet to find anyone in any research in human history that had lived to 100 years old that was over 6 feet tall. And Dick Van Dyke will be that person. He is 6'1".
Wow!
And
so he could hold on. So he could be the oldest person in history. I mean,
that's over 6 feet.
With the longest. I mean, in other words, he is the tallest person in history to live over 100 years old.
Yeah, and that's documented. He might be. It's funny.
Yeah, documented, right.
When we started saying this, you kind of find some people that come out of the woodwork and say, well, wait, I think my grandfather was taller. And it just depends, right? But what we did find, there were a couple of cases, but then we couldn't find the birth certificates. But Dick Van Dyke is clearly documented. He has clear height at 6'1". He is what appears to be the first documented person to ever be 100 years old over 6 foot. So it's staggering.
So why is that someone who is 6 feet or taller is less likely, to live to 100 than say someone who's 5'8" or 5'9"?
Well, let's look at the demographics. First of all, 80% are women, right? And then secondly,
and women live longer than
years old today.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, and they're also not.
And there aren't too many women who are over 6 feet tall. Right.
That's exactly right. Specifically, somebody who was born in the 20s, right? And that's really what we're going back to. And so when you start to look at how people aged and the timing of when that occurred, it was also fairly rare. You didn't have men quite as tall at the time too. So, but the point to this story was that we all have our own mortality, right? Yes. How many times daily do we hear time is our most precious asset that we have? All the time. But what happens is that we don't treat it that way. And what made Dick Van Dyke really unique, in his case, it wasn't really genetics. His father didn't live very long. Neither of his parents lived beyond their 70s, and he didn't have a family history of this. So this wasn't something that you could point to and say that was a genetic circumstance. Certainly, he had the lucky 100-year-old gene. But beyond that, what made Dick Van Dyke unique, and he spends a lot of time talking about this, is that he reduced stress in his life by a couple of things. One, he lived a life of happiness.
I just want to, so let me just interrupt you for a second, because this was what was so fascinating about about what you wrote about Dick Van Dyke. And, it's just an amazing story. And I really applaud you for digging into this research. But you said that, by the way, one of the things you said is that he's appeared in Coldplay, the rock group, Coldplay music videos.
99. He was in there. He was in there. He was doing music videos at 99. Rick Springfield caught him in the gym doing bench presses.
Oh my God.
Last year, 6 months ago. This is something that he literally lived his life with purpose, exercised. Literally embraced.
Hold on. Let's go over.
Slow down time.
Right. Let's go over each one of these, because you had a fabulous.
Sure.
This is a great checklist for people if you want to live a long, healthy, and happy life. I'm going to go over each one of these with you because they're all important. So the first one you say is exercise regularly, and you write that Dick Van Dyke is in the gym at 99 almost every day. Amazing.
Yes. What's your excuse? How do you not go to the gym? He's there at 99. It matters.
And so even a little bit of exercise probably. Yeah, even a little exercise at that age helps a lot, doesn't it?
Of course. I've said this on this show before, was that the biggest impact to lifespan extension is exercise by far. It's not even close. There is no magic pill that can touch what exercise does. It can expand lifespan by 16%.
Okay. So, by the way, I'm talking to Jay Jackson from Abacus, who's an expert on longevity, and you've got to get his products. They're just amazing. The second one, and we're running a little bit out of time, so I want to go over these a little quickly. Second one, practice good mental health. What does that mean?
Let go of anger. Dick Van Dyke never carried hate. He was quoted 100 times on it. And I have to tell you, in a political environment that we're in today, regardless of where you stand, this is a big deal. Right? Let this go and just focus on yourself and focus on being appreciative of where you are in the moment, right? Being in the moment is what matters most. And that's how you live longer, because you slow time down.
Yeah. He said in his book that, Dick Van Dyke we're talking about said he doesn't have a lot of anger or hate or resentment.
No.
That's amazing.
He said he never had enemies. That was his big carry. He just never let it, and particularly with the holidays where we're talking about not sitting down with family members, which is insane to me. Like, take a page from Dick Van Dyke. I don't even know where he stood politically. It doesn't matter, right? He didn't carry that hate.
How about this one? Your third one is find purpose. And you say that Dick Van Dyke stayed active in his career and personal life throughout his 80s and 90s because he had reasons to get up every morning.
Absolutely, right? Like, he embraced his mortality and he got up every single day and said, hey, look, I'm going to go to work. I'm going to have purpose. I'm going to do things that matter. He was doing acting and dancing and all of these things into his 80s and 90s. Yeah. You get to it in your 60s and 70s. He never stopped, right? And we all define work differently, but he had a purpose, and a lot of us define work as our purpose. Find your purpose and you get in there.
I love this last one, Jay, and we've just got a minute left, but this is so great. And this is Jay Jackson who wrote this piece about Dick Van Dyke, and you say, cultivate joy, and then you have a quote from Dick Van Dyke, I never wake up in a bad mood. Sometimes I wake up in a bad mood.
I know. Listen, we all do because maybe we got this hangover. And what I tell you is this. The reason he didn't wake up in a bad mood because he literally said his free. He says, I'm not going to carry this, right? By doing so, it created his urgency without anxiety. It transformed his ordinary moments into precious ones. If people do that right now in the holidays, it will have a big difference. They can live like Dick Van Dyke.
Well, he has given us a lot
here, and there's nothing here that costs you money. This is
exactly. That's a great point. But by the way, people should check out Jay Jackson at Abacus. How do people reach you at Abacus?
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Go on to abacusgm.com. I've got a Substack that you can read at Jay Jackson ABL. You can actually read this article. You can go on to LinkedIn and you can see it there as well. But man, it's been a pleasure. If I don't get a chance to talk to you, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. You too. Like, this is a great time of year.
Thank you to you and of course to Dick Van Dyke for a lifetime of laughs and smiles. Folks, we will be right back. This is the More Money Show.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Adobe Acrobat Studio, so brand new. Show me all the things PDFs can do. Do your work with ease and speed. PDF Spaces is all you need. Do hours of research in an instant with key insights from an AI assistant. Pick a template with a click. Now your Prezzo looks super slick. Close that deal? Yeah, you won. Do that, doing that, did that, done. Now you can do that with Acrobat. Now you can do that with the all-new Acrobat. It's time to do your best work with the all-new Adobe Acrobat Studio.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We're back, folks, and this is the More Money Show, and thank you so much for joining. We have affiliates throughout the country, and thank you for making this show a success. It's people like you who listen to the show regularly. I'm so appreciative because it's the highlight of my week to be in front of this microphone talking to real people like you who know what the real story is in America. And speaking of people who know the real story of America, one of my friends, Lydia Moynihan, who I was on CNN this morning with on a panel talking about what's going on in the economy. And Lydia, you knocked it out of the park. Thanks for coming on the show.
Of course. I know we couldn't leave the conversation there. We had to keep it going.
You better believe it. So there's two things I want to talk to you about, and we've only got about 8 to 10 minutes, so it's a short thing. But I want to get you on more regularly because I'm just so impressed with your writing and your TV appearances. But the first thing I want to ask you about is something we talked about on CNN this morning, which it was sort of 2 against 2, where we were saying, well, 2 against 3 really, in terms of we were sort of defending Trump's performance on the economy. And we both recited all of these things that are going right with the economy. And yet, our other panelists were just so glum about things. And truth be told, the public seems to be glum about the way things are going, according to a lot of the latest polls. What the heck is going on here?
Yeah, well, it was great being on with you. Thank you so much for having me. People point to consumer sentiment as down. When you look at the numbers, consumer sentiment was down really heavily when Biden was in office. So I don't think that things have in any way gotten worse. And to your point, you did a great job of articulating, real wage growth. They're building more homes. There's all of these signs that are really positive. But again, affordability is a feeling. And I think there is a real Biden hangover where prices, now when you go to the grocery store, prices are up 25% from where they were 4 years ago. So that's real. And I think people were hoping, okay, Trump's going to get into office and prices are going to go down. And I just don't think that's going to happen in the next 3 months or even year. But I think what's promising, and again, I'm not trying to talk anyone out of their feelings, and I know you're not either, but what's promising is I think Trump is making he's getting investments from foreign countries, and he's making investments in this country, and he's doing things that are deregulating with the tax cuts, extending those. I think that's so important. And so I think I'm confident in the coming months, the glumness that we saw from our fellow panelists, the glumness that we're seeing in those consumer sentiment numbers, I think that's going to be replaced by optimism. And I do think, it's annoying because every politician says, oh, give me more time. But you need more than 10 months to see the impact of economic policy.
I think that's exactly right. Although I'm just surprised because things are getting objectively better. I mean, it's hard to see things that are not getting better. People are, as you said, angry about things like beef prices. But incidentally, we don't want prices to fall. Deflation can be worse than inflation. We just want to create stable prices, and Trump is moving us towards that in a big way. And yet it's your generation, Lydia. It's your generation of people who are feeling gloomy about things. And so what is going on with your cohort?
I do think so. I'm very mixed because I think on the one hand, I see a lot of entitlement, but on the other hand, I also see a lot of hardworking people who kind of did everything right, did everything they were told. I have a friend who, was told, obviously, leave your small hometown, go to this college in New York City. She took out a lot of loans. That was what everyone advised her to do. And she got a degree, and now she has a full-time job, but she's not making a lot of money, and she's saddled with debt. And so, I look at somebody like her who, in a way, did everything that she was supposed to do. Now doesn't feel like she's in a place where she can afford to pay off her loans, let alone think about getting a home or having something like that. And so I think the path that was advised was wrong. I think, and we saw this even with people were told, oh, get a computer science degree. And now some people with the computer science degrees, even though that was supposedly the best major to have, can't get a job anywhere but Chipotle. So I think part of it is the economy has evolved. I think people who start businesses, people who are willing to maybe move to more affordable areas, Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, I think they're maybe able to live sort of the American dream as we know it. But I think people have to be a little bit more flexible today and kind of choose an unconventional route, because I don't think that the conventional wisdom has served people well.
So I am a boomer. I'm one of the youngest boomers, but so I just turned 65.
You're a baby boomer, yeah, quite literally.
Yeah, I'm a boomer, and so I'm a baby boomer, and a lot of people listening to the show are baby boomers. And look, when I graduated from college, my God, the unemployment rate was 11%, inflation was 12%. Yeah. You couldn't get a job as a burger flipper. I get a little frustrated, Lydia, with your generation. I'm not pointing my finger at you, but even my kids are like this. Oh, woe is me. And I'm like, you don't know what hard times really are if you didn't live through Jimmy Carter and by the way, and I think that, Donald Trump is sort of the Ronald Reagan savior of our economy. And what Reagan said is, stay the course, stick with the course. This is going to work.
Yeah. And invest to get to the other side. So one point that I would make about this generation, and I don't want to add fuel to the fire here, but I heard this phrase recently that I thought was really compelling, Instagram inequality, to sort of describe the discrepancy that I think people of your generation are seeing, that we actually have a really great standard of living. Everyone has an iPhone, everyone has air conditioning, all of these things that were luxuries, a few decades ago are ubiquitous, but you never appreciate what you have. And now I think with social media, people are seeing friends who are posting things that don't really exist, right? Who are maybe blowing all their cash on a vacation, and you see that and you think, oh, well, that's the lifestyle that I should have. So I do think social media has sort of amplified any worries or frustrations about where we are at this point in life. And yeah, I do. I mean, when I graduated, I was in a 6th floor walk up, and I kind of knew okay, this is the reality for the next couple of years, and you just kind of stick it through and hope you get to the other side.
So we've just got about a minute and a half left. I wanted to ask you one other quick question before I let you go, Lydia, and that is something that came up in our discussion at CNN where we were talking a little bit about low birth rates now among your generation and low marriage rates, which really bothers me because we need, as the Bible says, be fruitful and multiply. Why do you think that your generation is getting married later and having kids later or not at all?
I'm not trying to blame everything on men, but I do think, and I'm glad men are finally getting a bit more attention and focus, because I do think this generation of men kind of sucks. I have so many.
Oh, there you go, blaming the men. I knew it. I knew that was going to happen.
the gender wars. No, but I do think a lot of men, and I think it's because they were kind of beaten up, all through my childhood. You know who I blame? I blame the young women. Not about empowering boys. Okay. Well, let's hear it. Why do you blame the young women?
We got to wrap this up. Lydia, you're wonderful to come on. It was a pleasure to be with you on CNN today. And folks, this is the More Money Show, and we will be right back.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The More Money Show with Steve Moore.
Entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We're back, folks. This is the More Money Show. Thank you so much for joining us, having a lot of fun on a Saturday afternoon. And I hope you're having a great holiday and a holy and happy holiday season. Merry Christmas to everyone. I am in some hot water right now because I still haven't figured out what to get my wife for Christmas. So we'll be taking your calls at the bottom of the hour. Ladies, can you please give me some advice? Because I've been in some hot water. My wife, Ann, oftentimes doesn't like the presents that I get her, and then I have to take it back. And, I don't like this or that or the other thing. If you've got a magic idea about how I can get back in good graces with my wife, because I can't survive without her, she is truly my right hand. And so, I don't know. I just have a knack for getting her the wrong things, and then I can see her grimace. But I want to find exactly the right gift for my wonderful wife. And I know a lot of men feel the same way about it's tough. It's tough finding great presents for women. And, then she just said, I'll just go out in the store and buy things myself. But that's no fun. It's fun to find exactly the right gift. So ladies, if you have any ideas for me, please call in, let me know. I don't get this thing, by the way. I'm going to sound like a sexist here. I don't understand this thing with women and handbags. My wife is saying, what did you think about that woman's handbag? I said, I don't know. It looks fine to me. That's the $2,000 handbag. $2,000 for a handbag? What is this? So anyway, I want to find the perfect gift. And if you have any ideas for me, I'd love to hear from you. We're going to have a lot of fun in the second hour. I'm going to bring John Catsimatidis on, who is, of course, the owner of this station and the one who's turned WABC into such a powerhouse, and he's the one who's given me the privilege of being in front of this microphone. Before we bring on John Catsimatidis, I want to bring up a number of subjects. You know that I'm angry about the fact that all these young people are saying, oh my God, everything's unaffordable. We can't afford anything. Well, guess what? Real wages are up. People have more affordability than ever before. I'm not saying that things aren't expensive. They are. I mean, steak is expensive. Healthcare is expensive. College tuition is expensive. But you know what? So it is also true that Americans have incomes that have under Donald Trump surpassed the rate of inflation. So in other words, if you are angry about how much things cost, do not point to Donald Trump, point to Joe Biden, because 87.5% of the rise in the price of things like grocery bills, utility bills, healthcare bills, all of that happened under Joe Biden, and yet people are pointing at Trump. Trump's the one who's leveling off the inflation rates come down to 2.7%. I believe at the end by early next year will be down to the Fed target at 2%. But the other thing to do, you got to do, and by the way, I hope everybody's getting our Unleash Prosperity hotline, which is free. It costs you nothing. It's a daily email that we have about 200,000 people who get it every morning. We want you to get it, and it's free. It costs you nothing. All you have to do is sign up for it, and you can be the smartest person in the room. And to do that, just go to unleashprosperity.com, click on hotline, sign up. If you like it, which I think you will, we have so many people become devoted readers of that every morning. Then we'll just keep sending it to you. And if you don't like it, just unsubscribe. It's really simple, but it does not cost you one thin dime. Sometimes the best things in life really are free. So, I'm upset about the fact that Republicans seem to be caving in on healthcare. That Obamacare is going to be extended. Obamacare, it was a fraud. It was a fake. The Democrats knew when they passed Obamacare in 2010, it was going to explode in higher costs. It was going to make the healthcare system even more cumbersome. Medical procedures would be more and more and more expensive, and the health insurance would be more and more and more expensive. And that is exactly what happened. And so now we've got exploding costs of healthcare. Nobody can afford it. People are angry as hornets about this. And they're trying to figure out how they can pay their healthcare bills because the payments that you have to make, in terms of your premiums, those are going up month after month after month. And so this is exactly as I predicted. We got to get rid of Obamacare. We got to start over with a free market system in healthcare. Instead of doing that, unfortunately, every single Democrat voted to expand the subsidies, even though the U.S. The auditors in Washington found that there's tens and tens and tens of billions of dollars of fraud in these programs. And they did nothing. They did nothing about it. It's almost as if, well, that's just the cost of doing business. No, it's not. If a private insurance company or a private credit card company or private financial service company had the rate of fraud of the federal government, they'd ought to be out of business. Instead, there's tens of billions of dollars of fraud every year, billions, not millions, tens of billions of dollars of fraud in these programs. Meanwhile, the health insurance companies are getting rich at our expense, and the Republicans and Democrats got together and basically said, let's just extend the subsidies. We're running a $2 trillion deficit. It's not like we've got a lot of money burning a hole in our pockets. And this is going to bankrupt our country if we stay on this same course. Now, let me give you an example. If you think government-run healthcare is the way to go, and this is what Bernie Sanders wants, it's what Elizabeth Warren wants, it's what Chuck E. Schumer wants. They want the government to take over the healthcare system. If you think that sounds just fine and dandy to you, look what happened in Canada, where they do have basically a government-run healthcare system. It's a socialist system. We're not as socialist as they are, but we're moving in that direction. And so now you're finding that Canadians, they get the services for free, but guess what? When you get sick, you have to wait sometimes as much as 6 months to get a medical procedure to deal with an illness or a disease. And so you're just sitting there, figuratively on the operating table, waiting and waiting and waiting to get now we don't have to, at least in the United States, we don't have 6 month waiting periods to get, some of the, hip replacement or, things like that. So if you think that socialized medicine works, folks, look what's happening in Canada, where people are almost literally dying on the operating table, waiting for the medical treatments that they need. This is a road to perdition. It is going to bankrupt our country. It's going to lead to worse health care, and you're going to see the costs continue to explode. So Republicans, don't cave on this. Donald Trump, do not cave on this. We've got to get these medical expenses under control. My theory on healthcare, by the way, is very simple. I believe if we had a more direct way, we could cut out the middlemen in the healthcare system. We could get better healthcare in America at half the cost. I'm going to say that again. Better healthcare, better outcomes, longer life expectancies, less disease, more therapeutic drugs that can deal with these at half of the cost. But the government has made everything more expensive and worse. So that is my sermon for the day. When we come back, I'm going to bring on my good friend John Catsimatidis, my boss, I'm going to ask him for a raise on the air, and we'll see what he says. But you don't think he's going to give me that raise, do you? You guys, my producers here, are laughing at me because they think I'm not going to get the raise. But I need it. I really need it, especially if I'm going to buy that big 6-carat diamond ring for my wife to get back in her good graces. Folks, this is the More Money Show, and we will be right back.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The More Money Show with Steve Moore.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hope you're all having a wonderful Christmas season. God, it's hard to believe this is 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks till Christmas. Best time of the year, no doubt about it. Okay, I promised I was going to bring the President and CEO of WABC on the air so I could ask him publicly in front of all you folks. By the way, John, thanks so much for joining. Can I please get a pay raise for next year, John? John, are you there? No. Have we not reached John? Okay, we got it. You know what? He's ducking me, folks. He will not come on the air because he does not want to answer my question. Well, Mr. Producer, please try. Please keep trying. I know he told me earlier today he would come on the show. So we will get him. And as soon as he does come on, and out of the shadows, so to speak, we will see what he has to say. I have a bunch of very serious questions I want to ask him about the radio business and his business and his wonderful wife, Margot. In the meantime, I want to give you all the dial-in number, because at the bottom of the hour, we will start, bringing you on. That number, of course, is 1-800-848-9222. Let me say that again. 1-800-848-9222. And Elias, your job, Mr. Producer, is to get John Catsimatidis on this radio show. He cannot duck me today. He cannot duck me. In the meantime, while we're waiting for John Catsimatidis to come on, I wanted to mention a couple of other things on my agenda for today. One of which is what is going on in these blue states like Connecticut, like New Jersey, like New York, like California, my home state of Illinois, where you have governors, a whole new crop of governors and mayors coming in, including Zoran there in New York City, who believe that the path to prosperity is to raise tax rates. Have they learned nothing? Have they learned nothing from what has happened over the last 40 years, or 4 years for that matter, where these blue cities and blue states are being bled dry? We had a press conference at Unleash Prosperity with Governor Ron DeSantis on Wednesday and Thursday of this week. They've got 2 million new people have come into Michigan, many of them coming from Florida, going into Florida, and they're leaving New York and New Jersey and Connecticut because of lower taxes. So my advice is, if New York wants to be great again, and we all want to make New York great again, no one less than John Catsimatidis, we have to make sure that if you soak the rich, you're not going to have a lot of rich people creating businesses and staying in the state. Okay, I think we found him. I think we found John Catsimatidis. John, are you on?
I am on. You found me. You found me.
I don't know if you were listening earlier, John, but I need a pay raise, John. And all my listeners are listening to you because they think you're a Scrooge, John. So give us the real story here.
Give us this. You get 50% of all the profits.
Okay, you heard it. Write that down, folks. You heard it. 50% of all the profits. Well, John,
as long as you pay 50% of the losses.
Okay, well, no, you put a little asterisk there.
That is real capitalism.
So tell me, John, for a serious note for a moment, you took over the station a few years ago. You have turned it into a dynamo. Congratulations. It is the #1 talk radio station in America. And at the time when everybody said, well, talk radio is done. Nobody's going to invest in talk radio. Nobody listens to talk radio anymore. Every time in New York, people come up to me, I listen to the More Money Show. So how did you do it?
Well, I think, we picked the right talent. We picked the right people, and we picked people that the rest of our country wants to talk to.
Right.
Common sense people. I remember when we first hired with Bill O'Reilly. And, Bill O'Reilly was on the beach for a while.
Right.
And my people said to me when I just bought the station, he says, "Why are you hiring Bill O'Reilly? We're going to lose all our advertisers." I said, "To heck with it. I'm hiring him."
Yeah.
And we hired him, and he became
amazing.
One of the greatest talents in America.
He's an icon. He's an icon.
Yes. Yeah. And on top of that is, I remember him saying to me, "Well, what are we going to name the show?" I said, "How about Common Sense with Bill O'Reilly?" And he thinks about it for a few seconds. He says, "Yeah, you're right."
Right.
So
that's
we brought
John,
the word common sense back.
Yep. And so you've got a great lineup. I love coming on the Cats Roundtable with the lovely Rita Cosby. I don't know how she puts up with you every weeknight, but you guys have a great show. And then you do. By the way, we are, I believe, the only station in America that has 5 hours straight of live programming on the economy, on finance with Larry Kudlow and Steve Moore. Nobody else does that, John.
Nobody else does that. And Saturday morning is a good time to reflect on your investments for the week and what the heck you're going to do next week.
So, John, one question I needed to ask you. I started the show by saying I'm in a lot of hot water with my wife because I still haven't figured out what to get her for Christmas, and I always seem to buy the wrong thing. What are you getting, Margot? I don't think she's listening right now. So you have any advice for me?
Get your wife a Black American Express card and make every day Christmas Day for her.
Okay, that's great. Can you explain to me, by the way, John, what it is with women and handbags? They're buying these $3,000 handbags. They just look like, what's the deal with that?
That's cheap. My daughter wants a $10,000 handbag. What did Barnum and Bailey once say? There's a sucker born every day.
Ain't that the truth?
If you put it on a fancy bag and you say it's fancier than the other guy, I guess women love them.
Yeah, I guess they do. It's a status symbol, I guess. And my wife says the worst thing you can do is get one of the...
If it's only a $3,000 bag, you're getting away cheap.
There you go. So that's why I need a pay raise, because he wants a $10,000 handbag. Okay, I want to ask you a couple more questions, John. One is something we've talked about on your show on the Cats Roundtable, and that is why are people glum on the economy? I think, you look at all the statistics. Larry Kudlow was talking about this earlier on your station, that the statistics are pointing in the right direction. They're pointing north. Things are getting better in America. You talk about this all the time, but if you look at the polls, people are glum.
Well, there are people that are going to be glum regardless of if the sun is shining or if it's raining.
That's true.
There are people like that.
Right.
And I'll tell you, the way, I'm a pretty common sense person, and I have been pretty good in predicting our economy, even though me and Larry argue once in a while. But, who was the first one that said $50,000 by the end of the year, $50,000 Dow Jones? I did. I yelled and screamed about it. Who said that the interest rates are going to come down? I did. Who said the gasoline prices are coming down?
You did.
I did.
Yep.
And I think with gasoline prices being down, and it might go even lower if Venezuela opens up with 8 million barrels a day, and at the same time, interest rates when Powell is out of there, and interest rates go even lower, and the real estate industry expands. And industry has a confidence that you have a common sense Fed, and they're not going to do things opposite what they should be done. Don't forget what the interest rates were under President Trump 45. And interest rates coming down, the energy prices coming down. And all
wages are up.
Tariff money coming in, and all the new industry coming to America.
Yep.
Guess what? 2026 will be the best year that America's ever had.
I completely agree with you on that. So, John, we've got to take a quick break in a couple of minutes. So I wanted to ask you one other thing. If you were to, because look, this has been a rough month for Trump. His approval ratings are down in the polls. You and I love the guy, but his approval ratings are down. What would be and I'm going to ask my listeners this question when we take your calls at the bottom of the hour, folks. But the question for John Catsimatidis is, what advice would you give? And you do give advice to President Trump. He listens to you all the time. What is one or two things that Trump needs to do?
He listens to me. He listens to me, and he listens to Larry, and listens to you once in a while. At the end of the day, he's the president. And
when he stops listening to us, that's when he goes off, in the wrong direction. But so what does he need to do, John?
Well, I think one of the issues that's going on right now is, you remember about 6 months before the election, 5 months, and I said to them, let's deport all the criminals. And he agreed. Whatever criminals we have, murderers, drug dealers, deport them. Mm-hmm. Well, some people are now deporting the nannies and the jaywalkers.
Yeah.
And I think that there's got to be better control on who we deport.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that's a bad policy. If somebody's in the country and look, I don't favor illegal immigration, but we should be humane about this. And it's not. I don't think that deportation of people who are working is a great idea. So finally on the way out. You've done so much charitable work over your lifetime, especially recently. I remember you did all the turkeys for Thanksgiving. What do you got cooked up for the last couple of weeks for Christmas?
Well, Christmas time, Thanksgiving time, the holiday period starts with Thanksgiving.
Right.
Then we go into Christmas time, and Sunday night is Hanukkah, and then we have New Year's, bring in the New Year. I think what we all have to do is hope for peace in the world. Let me tell you something. President Trump not only saved the United States of America, not only stopped the invasion of our country, he's trying to bring sanity to Europe. Because some of those prime ministers, they need a little bit of sanity. And Europe was being invaded. And you know what I said in the speech I made in Europe last week? I said, Germany should be for the Germans. Italy should be for the Italians. Greece should be for the Greeks.
Of course.
France should be for the French. And bringing in immigrants to help, fine. But don't allow your countries to be invaded. And the joke I told is, if the French, the Italians, you're only having one child per family, or 1.1 or 1.2. And the migrants you bring in are having 14, and I exaggerated a little bit on that. You're having 14. At what point do the migrants take over your country?
So, John, well, thank you very much for coming on the show. That's John Catsimatidis. John, I will be looking forward to that big pay raise you're going to give me starting in January, because I really need it, my friend. And by the way, I know I'm coming on your weekend show, your Sunday show tomorrow, I believe.
Well, I look forward to talking to you tomorrow, and Cats Roundtable between 8:00 and 10:00 in the morning. I know it was syndicated.
It's all over. We get it in Washington, D.C. We get it every time I go to a city. There's John Catsimatidis on the roundtable. So I can't wait to be on that show. John, have a Merry Christmas. I'm sure I'll talk to you before then.
Merry Christmas. I'll talk to you in the morning.
Okay. Take care. And folks, we'll be right back. Remember, if you want to tell us what you think Trump should be doing. Also, if you have any advice, ladies, for what I should get Ann for Christmas, I would love that advice. I'm not getting her a $4,000 handbag. I refuse to do that. That number, 1-800-848-9222. There's 2 lines open. And folks, we will be right back. This is the More Money Show.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We're back, folks. This is the More Money Show, having some fun on a Saturday afternoon. We are live. We are in color, probably the only station in all of the New York area that is live and in color, that takes your callers. By the way, if you were to flick that dial, please do not do that. You just have to listen to some boring canned commercial. But thanks to John Catsimatidis, we have 5 straight hours of live programming on WABC on the weekend. Nobody else does that. So it is always a real privilege for me to, and incidentally, our ratings are very good. And I want to tell you all how appreciative I am that you listen to the show, because when you do that, my ratings go up and I make more money. You know, I'm tired of making the minimum wage with this John Catsimatidis character. So, anyway, thank you for making this show a success. Before I get to your callers, and I'll take them in a minute, and I believe there's one line open, and, I'm going to take the women first, the ladies, because I do want advice about, how to make my wife happy at Christmas time, because I keep striking out on this and she's angry at me. So have any great ideas about great gifts to get, your wife? And the best person to ask that is women who are married. What do you want from your husband? But in the meantime, I have a story that is so annoying to me. I just had to bring it to your attention. There are not that many great schools in Washington, D.C. There are some. And so one of the top performing schools in Washington, D.C., is called Alice Deal Middle School. I'm sure none of you have ever heard of it. I'd never heard of it before either, but it's one of the top schools. In fact, they have a reading proficiency rate that's twice as high as the overall District of Columbia. Incidentally, this is so pathetic that only 38% of kids in the DC school system, are reading a proficiency level. 38%. That's almost 1 in 3. Cannot read? What the hell is wrong with our country? They can't even teach kids to read. But this Alice Deal Middle School has 80%. You know, even that's kind of pathetic. That still means 20% are not reading at proficiency level. But in any case, it's one of the top performers, and they've just decided this is one of the top performing schools that they are going to. Let me make sure I get this right. That they are going to remove, here it is. They're going to remove all full-length novels from their 8th grade English curriculum. What? You know, they're not going to have kids read in the 8th grade? They're not going to read a book? And they say, no, we're going to give you the kind of Cliff Notes version. Just take excerpts from these books. Wait a minute. You know, you've got these unbelievably important books that are part of Americano. They define America. How about To Kill a Mockingbird? You don't want an 8th grader to read that book? What about, The Scarlet Letter by, Nathaniel Hawthorne? Or what about, I read, one of my favorite books when I was in 6th, 7th, 8th grade was The Outsiders. Nope. You don't have to deal that. We'll just give you the abbreviated version of it. And one of the most important books ever written in America was a book called, of course, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. And that book, Ernest Hemingway once said that all American literature derives from one book, Huckleberry Finn. And now we're not going to ask the kids to read that book. It deals with, important issues. It dealt with the issue of slavery and so on, and racial injustice in this country. No, we're not going to have the kids. They don't have to read that book. Come on. We're dumbing down our schools, folks. That's not working for me. That's not working for me. That's not working for our country. And I bet a lot of you can remember school books that you loved to read when you were in junior high school. As I said, one of my favorites was The Outsiders. I loved that book. I loved Huckleberry Finn. I love the classics. And so why can't our kids read? Because they're not asking them to read. That's why, because our schools have been so dumbed down. I'm going to take one caller before we go to break. I think do we have Gracie on?
Hello?
Hi.
How are you?
How are you? Good. I'm getting ready for Christmas.
Yeah, well, I want to talk politics, but as far as your wife, I'm married 54 and a half years. And what you have to do is do something nice.
I have trouble with that. I have a lot of trouble with that kind of thing.
Wait, I don't know if she, but something in the house that you take a job away from her. Like,
but wait a minute, Gracie, I hate to do housework. She does the housework.
Well, she hates to do it too, so that's why you work together. And that's how you have a happy marriage.
That's the problem.
Now, politics.
She does 90% of the work. I get to do the fun stuff, like come on the radio, and maybe that makes her a little. So what do I do? Gracie? What's your advice?
Okay. My advice is to help her. So if she washes the dishes, make sure
I hate washing dishes.
You're miserable. I believe you. Forget the pocketbook.
I'm just teasing you. You're right. I'm going to start. Gracie, I am so glad you called in. I am going to start helping around the house. Do you think that would improve my marriage?
Yes, it would. I'm married 54 and a half years. Now, politics is more important. Now, poor Trump is wonderful. I loved him since he went down the escalator. Because I said we always needed a businessman. Okay, we finally got the businessman. The 4 years were wonderful. Even now, he's not even president a year. My money, my dividends, my income has gone up. Now, what Trump has to do is he has to go out and give more speeches to the dummies out there. And he has to focus on what the dummies want. They want more money. He knows better what to focus on. Don't talk to us that will go through fire for him, because I know he's wonderful. And I'm annoyed with the Republicans. They're Democrats light. I have no use for any of them. Stick with Trump and get some balls for crying out loud. I'm disgusted.
Now, Gracie, before I let you leave, thank you for calling, by the way. I don't know if you heard what I was just saying, but they're not allowing in some of these schools to read some of the classics like Huckleberry Finn and To Kill a Mockingbird and the books that you and I read when we were kids.
Okay, I was a teacher in New York City. I started in 1968. I didn't teach much. I was more a stay-at-home mom. My husband was a teacher at Morris High School in the Bronx. He started in 1967. Back then, they could write an essay and a paper. By the time he left, they couldn't even put two sentences together.
Oh, my God. Why? So Gracie, hold on, because this is so important, and I'm so glad you called in. Why? Why have we let the schools deteriorate like this?
Because they want to dummy down the people in authority. This is the plan. This is the plan to dummy down.
So hold on, Gracie.
People.
You think it's intentional?
Oh, of course.
Wow.
The communists are socialists. What do you think? They're going to do something in a year? No, it takes the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, the 30-year plan. They want to destroy the United States of America.
Well, Gracie,
now you're going to say I'm a whack.
This must explain why so many of the voters went out and voted for Mamdani.
That's it. I didn't want to mention his name, but definitely.
Hey, Gracie, I got to take a break, but you're a wonderful caller. Thank you for calling in, and I love your advice. I'm going to try it, and maybe if I help with the dishes, that might help me get in the good graces of my wife. And folks, we got a lot of people on the line, but I want to hear from as many as possible. If I see we have one line still open, 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848 WABC is our call-in number, and we will be right back.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The More Money Show with Steve Moore.
Entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We're back, folks. This is the More Money Show. Thank you so much for joining on a Saturday afternoon, less than 2 weeks till Christmas. So I hope you're having a very happy and holy holiday season. Lot going on. I wanted to ask you about one of the things that I find very interesting is how our healthcare system has been so perverted over the last 40 or 50 years. By the way, Gracie and I were talking earlier on the show when I took her call about what's happened with education. She was a teacher in the 1970s and the late 60s, and she really informed us of how much the quality of the education system has declined over the last 40 or 50 years. I could not agree with her more that we've let our schools deteriorate in a very dangerous way. But I'll tell you another industry that I think is really deteriorating, and that is the healthcare system. We are spending more money than ever before on medical care in this country, more than ever, and yet the results are not there. Life expectancy is actually declining a bit. The quality of care is declining. You talk to people who go to the hospital, go to the doctor, you have to wait in lines. It's just not a quality healthcare system. And Moore's rule is, this is Steve Moore's rule, is if we had a better system of the way we paid for healthcare, I truly believe we could get better healthcare with paying half the cost. Now people say, well, healthcare is free. It isn't free. It isn't free. I know people are on Medicaid, Medicare, this, that. Somebody has to pay for it. I mean, Milton Friedman taught us 50 years ago that there's no such thing as a free lunch. There's also no such thing as a free MRI or a free checkup or a free heart surgery. Somebody has to work to pay for it. And so what we've done is put the load of the cost of the healthcare system on the people who aren't necessarily getting the services. And so here's why that is a very stupid policy. And I'm going to go back to something that was Mark Perry, who is a very famous economist at the American Enterprise Institute, did a great study showing that when people pay out of pocket, in other words, if you have to pay directly for a medical service, you're going to get a better price than if someone else is paying for it. In other words, if somebody else is going to pay you for your surgery, you don't care what it costs. Right? I mean, that's just natural. Oh, it's free. It's free to you. So, but somebody has to pay for it. And this keeps driving up the cost of everything for medical treatments to prescription drugs to visits to the doctor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so what Mark Perry showed, I find this to be fascinating. He looked from 1998 through 2022, and he looked at how much inflation went up for various kinds of medical procedures. And it's so interesting. Here are some of the things that he found. Not all healthcare procedures are going up in price. On average, healthcare procedures have gone up since 1998 by more than double. That's a lot. And by the way, that was in the aftermath of passing the fraudulent Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. But here are some of these numbers of procedures that are not going up in price and in fact have decreased in price. So Botox is not covered by insurance, and therefore its price has gone down. Now this is through 2022. I haven't checked what's going on in the last 4 years with this, but it's 3.5% cheaper than it was in 1998. Here's another one. Laser hair removal. That's gone down by 63% in cost. Here's another one. Laser skin resurfacing. I don't know if anyone's had that done, but that cost went down 47%. Here's another one. I'm going to find this. Which one is this? Chemical peel skin rejuvenate. I can't even say that word. Rejuvenation. Negative 24%, for those things. LASIK surgery costs have been stable. They haven't really risen at all. And yet, if you look at overall healthcare costs of things that are covered by insurance, those prices have gone up by 100, in some cases 200%. So what that's telling you is when you take the patient out of the process and they're not paying directly for the service, it's a prescription for disaster. It's like, let me put it like this. You know, I was talking to Gracie. She was a grade school teacher. If you put a big bowl of candy in front of a classroom of fourth graders and just leave the room, by the end of the day, there's not going to be one candy bar left in that jar. They're all going to eat it all up because it's free. That's what happens when you give people something for free. They consume it, whether they need it or not. And that's what's happened with healthcare. And that is a more money education, economics lesson of the day. So with that said, I believe we have Sue from Pennsylvania who has been very patiently waiting. Sue, thanks for calling in.
Hey, and I have an opinion about the topic you were just talking about as well. In addition to the gift for your wife and why I really called in, yes. First of all, on the On a gift for your wife, diamond earrings. You can never go wrong. Get as
diamond earrings. What do you think I am? A millionaire? A billionaire? I can't afford diamond earrings.
Or whatever.
I'd have to dig deep into my wallet to do that.
But you can't go wrong with them.
You think it'll pay off?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. I tell my husband, women are easy to shop for. Just get earrings. That's it. That's all you have
Now,
to
Sue,
do.
can I ask you a personal question? Are you married?
Yes.
Okay. How many years?
Well, 5 at this point, but that's just my latest marriage. So there you go.
How's that going so far for you?
Very good. Thank you.
Good. So did your husband get you diamond earrings?
I don't know what's in those boxes yet, but they're small ones. So
all right. So after Christmas, you're going to have to call me and let me know what's in those boxes, but I bet they're there. So I'm sorry I interrupted you, but go ahead with what you were talking about.
Yeah. So as far as the health insurance thing goes, years ago, I was working for U.S. Healthcare, and at the time it was an HMO was the attempt to get a handle on the expensive healthcare. Remember when the HMO? And so, that was an attempt to manage all of the expenses and things, but people didn't like the lack of choice. That's why we have PPOs now, and that's why things have gone out of control. Plus, we have corporate entities owning every doctor's practice. That's another reason.
Mm-hmm.
But,
so what needs to be done?
Oh, yeah, good question. I don't know. I don't know what needs to be done. If I had the answers, I'd be a lot richer than I am. But the reason I really called in was because I wanted to verify for you that the economy is going great, because once I retired, because I worked for a health insurance company for 26 years as a data analyst, once I retired, I went into the baking business as a part-time thing. It's kind of seasonal. And
I'm sorry. Well, hold on. I'm sorry. You went into what? I couldn't quite hear you. What business did you go in?
I'm a baker. I bake cookies. I bake.
Oh, baker! Wow.
Yes, I bake Springerle cookies, which are a very specific type of German cookie. They're made by putting them into molds. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but some people may be. And they're very labor-intensive to make, and they're very beautiful. Most of the bakeries around don't make them because it takes too long. So they're very expensive. I work with a local supermarket chain here. I got my license from the state to bake in my home. And so I've been doing this for 9 years now. And only one other year did I ever finish in the black because they're very expensive. I give him a wholesale price. He doubles it, and that's what he charges. And this year, before Thanksgiving, I already have 2 orders from him, and I just got a 3rd order. So I think it's going to be a very good year. It means people are releasing their money and spending.
And by the way, all the statistics indicate exactly what you're saying, that the economy is doing better, businesses are doing better, workers are doing better. By the way, on the way out, Sue, I have to ask you a question. Did you ever watch the Dick Van Dyke Show?
Yeah, in fact, I'm watching reruns of it now on TV these days.
Well, I believe that Dick Van Dyke was one of the great comic geniuses, and he is, if you were listening earlier to the show, he is now 100 years old.
I know. In fact, on the show, that when they replay his shows, they even have a little message from him, like a happy birthday thing. He's like 101.
So I'm going to ask you one trivia question on the way out. Are you ready?
I hope so.
Do you know who Dick Van Dyke was secretly in love with?
Secretly in love with? Jeez. Was he secretly in love with Mary Tyler Moore?
Mary Tyler Moore. Yeah. He was secretly in love with
I was reading up on this. He didn't like having Ron Stewart at first because he thought she was too young for the role when they were first putting that show together. And so I was reading all about it.
Those two were amazing together. Thanks so much for calling in. Great call. We have time for maybe 1 or 2 more quick callers. So who do we go with? Should we go with Dave? Dave, you still on?
I'm still there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm okay. Look, 2 topics and I'll try to go quick. I think it's way too early to take our foot off the inflation brake. I think when the target is 2% and we're never at or below the target, we're always above it. To me, the target, some months should be 1%, some might be 3%, but we're never at or below target. It's way too soon to take our foot off.
Wait. Hold on. You're making an important point, so I want to make sure that I and my listeners understand what you're. So, do you think it was a mistake for the Fed to cut rates?
I think 0.25% doesn't make all that much difference in the overall scheme, and it might be a cosmetic drop. But if President Trump gets his wish and he wants a dramatic drop to cut mortgage rates in half, that would be a huge mistake. That $2 trillion federal deficit is, a flood pouring into the economy, and all that investment money coming from out of the country, that is going to compete with all the money that we want to spend for investment, for driveways and roofing materials. There's two sides to that overwhelming investment that he's bragging about. And I have a gripe about my state. We're raising our minimum wage on January 1st. And this is a trick brought to us by the union.
I'm sorry. Hold on. What state are you in?
I'm in Connecticut.
Connecticut, yeah. Well,
I'm in Connecticut.
Is a disaster.
Minimum wage is going up 3.6% because they tied it to the ECI, the Employment Cost Index, not the Consumer Price Index. And the labor unions knew that this was a higher number that would escalate the minimum wage by law, automatically ratchets up.
All right, I got to call you. Dave, I got to cut you off because I've got one more caller I got to get to, but I want to make a point about this whole issue of the minimum wage that you mentioned. The minimum wage is a terrible idea, especially if it applies to young workers. I've said this is one of the themes of the More Money Show. We need to make sure young people are working. And when you have a high minimum wage, you price young people out of the workforce, and you're doing no active service to young people by keeping them from working. We need young people working. You know this, the earlier you start working in your life, the more successful you are. So parents, get your kids a job, and you learn so much. You learn as much as you would in school by working hard, getting those work habits that will be with you your whole life. Mr. Producer, do we have time for one or two more callers?
Yes, we have Gerald from Brooklyn.
All right. Who should we go with next?
Gerald from Brooklyn.
Okay. Will from Brooklyn, you're on.
Yeah, hi, Steve. I think that's Joe from Brooklyn. But anyway.
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear. Okay, Joe, thanks for calling in.
That's okay. Talking about Connecticut, if you remember, late in 2009, Senator Joe Lieberman refused to vote for a provision in the Senate bill for Obamacare that would allow people aged 55 to 64 to buy in to Medicare. Why? He represented insurance companies. Yes. And insurance companies really hate people 55 to 64 because they're money losers. The older you get, the more insurance. So that's why private insurance doesn't work. Fast forward to 2017. Trump said on day one he had a replacement for Obamacare. Paul Ryan, who was then the speaker, said, "What plan? There is no plan." Eventually, later in 2017, they came up with a plan that would cover less people, less coverage, more expensive than Obamacare. Another failure.
So hold on. Okay, so what? All right. Joe, I hear you. So what is your point? What do we need to do?
Okay, you said cut out the middleman. I couldn't agree more.
Yes,
the middleman are insurance companies. Let's have Medicare for all. Is it perfect?
No.
It's not perfect.
You lost me there, Dave. I got to cut you off. No. Joe, you're completely wrong about that. Medicare for all. My God, we have a federal government that's going bankrupt. We're going to put everybody on the government dole for health care. No, that's a bad idea. What we need, but I do agree with you. People are paying way too much for the health insurance. Actually, what we should allow people to do is have high deductible health plans. So if it's a routine expenditure, you pay for it yourself. By the way, if you pay cash for medical service, you're going to pay a much lower cost. Your premiums will go way down. You'll save money. The whole healthcare system will save money. We'll get a higher quality of care. People will be very cost conscious in how they buy their health care. I think we might be able to squeeze one more in. What do you think, Mr. Producer?
Yes, we could do Joe from Queens.
Joe. You're on, Joe.
Okay.
We just got 2 minutes, so quickly, what do you got for us?
Okay. One thing is called Flip It. It's a way your wife can get all the bottom liquids out of all her stuff in the bathroom. It's called Flip It. It's a thing you put on the top and you turn it upside down. My wife loves it. And the other one
I've never heard of it.
It's if you take a bottle, you usually can't get the stuff on the bottom.
Yeah.
So you screw this thing on the top, you turn the bottle upside down. It helps you get all the liquid stuff falls to the top, and you can get all the liquid out of every bottle that she has. My wife loves it. And the last thing,
what is it called again?
Flip it. Yeah, you can get it on Amazon.
All right, I'm going to go to Amazon. I'm going to see. I don't know if that's going to repair my marriage, but it's a great advice. Hey, we're running out of time. Yeah, go ahead.
The next one is a thing that you get the lids off jars, because I'm 78. I can't get half the lids off the jars. So it's a little handheld.
By the way,
it's a handheld. Let me tell you, when I asked my wife, I'm married 50 years. When I asked my wife what's the best thing I ever got her, she says, flip it and the
by the way,
jar opener.
I've got to stop you there and just say a couple quick things in response to what you're saying. I was just looking up Flip It on the internet. I see what you're talking about. By the way, my wife's mother was so cheap. She always talked about that her mother was the cheapest person she ever met in her life. And what she used to do is, when you run out of soap when it gets down to the very little bit left in the jar, she would save all the little bit, and then she put it in a little kind of wrapper, and then she'd smash it all together so she could get every last little bit out of the soap, out of the soap containers. You can't be much cheaper than that. Well, folks, we've come to the end of the show. I've had fun. I hope you've had fun. I hope you're having a great holiday. We will be back next week, live and in color, same bat time, same bat channel. We are the More Money Show, expanding audience every week because of people like you. And I will be back next week. Have a great, great holiday.
Thanks for listening to More Money with Steve Moore. You can hear More Money with Steve Moore Saturday afternoons at 1. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Payne Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.